Hey, what's going on, PowerUp community? This is the Coach David, welcoming you back to another episode of PowerUp Podcast, Trainer AMA. I am here with Bodyweight Bane to talk a little bit about movement and recovery and rest. And Bodyweight, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about how you found PowerUp and what kind of got you into fitness.
What's up, Fit Fam? This is Bodyweight Bane. Fitness for me started when I was about 13 or 14. My parents had been separated, and that was kind of me and my dad's thing, was to go to the gym together. So I just fell in love with it ever since then. And I found PowerUp. I literally Googled NFT fitness or NFT exercise, something like that. And you guys came up.
Yeah, that is so cool. It's always good to see when some of those like search engine optimizations and all the different marketing stuff works out.
Yes, all the algorithms.
Yeah, man. I know Buckle puts a lot of time into that and his crew, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so
I'm a product of his work.
Yeah, well, and you know, we're the benefactors. So it definitely worked out in our favor. So we had talked a little bit before about which I really liked. You were big on rest and recovery, which I think is kind of one of those facets of health and fitness that like isn't sexy. Right, but
I was going to say the same thing, not sexy.
Right, but it's so crucial to getting gains or results in anything in life, period. I know we got a couple different topics, so go ahead and get us started on that one.
So it is very important to me, mainly because my wife, so we're like the opposite. When they say opposites attract, that's us. So I am more of an event-oriented person, so you know, if I'm late somewhere, I'm here. We're going to have fun, whatever. You know, I like to hang out. I like to talk to people. I like to talk to people and go deep with people. And she's more like, you know, we got to go do this, blah, blah, blah. But because of that, her and people like her, they have trouble with sleeping. They are stressed out. Sometimes, like it's hard for them to enjoy stuff in the moment. And I've learned, just looking at myself and even like reading stuff and studying, rest is very important for you to function normally. Like you need, you know, your phone needs rest, quote, I'm putting that in air quotes, rest. You need to charge your phone. Sometimes you need to restart your phone. Your vehicle needs maintenance. It needs preventative maintenance. You need to change your oil. You need to rotate your tires. A lot of stuff that you should do before you have like a blowout in your tire, or you never change your oil, so your engine blows up and now you can't go anywhere. And it's the same for your body. Basically, if you don't rest hard, then you can't work hard. In my opinion, it's just like you can't have one without the other. And if you do have one without the other, it's not optimal. So maybe you can be doing all these things, you know, you work long hours and you work out after, and then you stay up on Facebook all night. But maybe you're mean to your coworkers, or maybe you're mean to your kids, or you just have stress and all that stuff. When it's because you're not resting, it's because you're not sitting back and breathing and just processing things that are going on in your life.
And so while you're putting all the time, work, and effort into reaching your goals, what you're saying is because of all that excess energy that's going out, you're not replacing that. While you may be super focused on those, secondary things could be negatively impacted.
Yes, correct. Yes. The best example for me was like the car thing. When someone told me that, I was like, yes, you do need to change your oil. You do need to put gas in your car. Like, you know, we do it for other things, and we even do it for people that we love. Say it's, you know, your mom or your grandmother or even one of your kids. They're stressed out. Hey, why don't you go take a nap? Hey, why don't you go do something fun? You know, we can finish your homework later or whatever. But for ourselves, it's hard to do that for ourselves. It's easy to do it for those that we love, but for ourselves, we're like, I'm tough. You know, I can man up, I can woman up. But we need to remember that we need to rest. We're not built to go.
I think what kind of stuck out to me as you talked through that car example again was it wasn't anything fancy, right? Like it's change your oil, simple. Rotate your tires, simple. Put gas in it, simple. And that people don't do the simple parts of recovery, but then they try to do all the crazy stuff like, you know, if we're optimizing, and I don't know anything about cars, right? If we're optimizing some spark plug, something firing, something, we're doing all these crazy, like,
cold air
1%,
intake.
right? Like 1%, you know, like top 1% would be doing these things. Like, you know, guys are in cryo leg casts, you know, as a professional athlete, but that only matters because they're actually getting sleep. They're actually getting nutrients. They're actually getting these other things to even get to the point of where that's going to have an impact. But people will do like the cool fancy stuff and not the basics. Again, like back to the not being sexy part.
Yes, it is. It's not sexy. Sometimes it's not fun, but it's different for everybody. For me, I love to read and I actually love to work out. A lot of people, it's like a chore to work out. But for me, that is my rest. That's how I take anger out. I usually do it at the end of the day. So it's after work. I get to work out and then I can just rest. I can exhale and I can be present with my family and all that kind of stuff. Some people like to go for a walk. Some people just want to sit, you know, and pray or meditate or journal is a pretty common one. But yeah, it has to be something that will help you, because some people say, well, to rest, I like to go on Facebook. That is most of the time counterproductive. I would say 99.9% of the time, you need to not have a screen when you're resting.
Absolutely. It's there's a difference between rest and recover and escaping and feeling like you're resting.
Escapism is different. Correct.
Yeah. Yes. Because most of those escape things are actually increasing stress.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. It's more of a distraction, which rest is like you deal with it. You have to think about stuff. You have to process things. So you deal with it.
That's a good differentiator. So So escapism is
like not dealing with things. It's trying to run away, pretty much, or be distracted. Resting is you have to deal with things, process things, think about things.
That's a great differentiator, I think, because it is. It's veg out in front of the TV, and it might, and you know, the caveat there could be like you could watch something that's, you know, emotionally inspiring on TV. That's, you know, that does help you recover and stuff. But, you know,
for me, when I watch something like that, and I'm like, why can't I be that person? You know what I mean? So it's inspiring, but then I'm like, well, I'm here sitting on the couch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and that's not to say that you can't enjoy those things. Like that, it's that you can't use them as a crutch, right? I can go out and have a beer, have dinner with some friends, but if I'm having a 6-pack every night to escape, that's completely different.
Correct. If it's like an addiction versus like, you know, something fun you do every once in a while, totally different.
And a lot of that social media stuff becomes addiction. It doesn't become something you just kind of check in on every so often.
You do it, and you don't even know you're doing it. You're on it, and you're like, I was supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah.
And 2 hours pass. Yeah. Another thing that I didn't say last time, so it has to do with resting. So have a daily distraction, a weekly withdrawal, and an annual abandon. Daily distraction, that could be breathing slowly for 2 minutes. And you can do that 3 times a day. That can be, you look up at some trees. You can just think about, you know, all of the good things that you have. Think about your children. Think about the job that you have. Think about your blessings. Count your blessings. And then a weekly withdrawal something that I do is with my family. We try and go to the park like once a week. We just go to the park. We play. They play with other kids. We usually meet other adults, and it's just it's very nonchalant, like not planned. So we just go to the park and see what happens, basically. And then the annual abandon is like a vacation. Go to Universal Studios, go to somewhere crazy. And people always say, I can't afford that, but I say you can't afford not to do that because it helps you stay motivated. It helps you reward yourself with some fun because you deserve it. You've been working, you've been grinding. It's good to have a vacation.
I will agree with that 100%.
Yes.
And so for myself, it was kind of funny. So I started the habit because between November, December, and January, I have an anniversary, a kid's birthday, Christmas, and another kid's birthday.
Oof.
And so like money flies out in the course of 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I created a bank account where each paycheck, $20 comes out of my like direct deposit and goes into my like holiday survival account. Right? It's not
awesome.
It's not a ton, but it's like $500 at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, it adds up quick.
Right? Like you don't see it. That's like going out to, that's half of going out to dinner once,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, nowadays. Whew.
Yeah, man, especially if you got a couple kids. But
yeah.
But if you're going to take an annual abandon?
Annual abandon, yeah.
If you know you're going to take an annual abandon, you can do that. What's if there's two of you, if you're both working, if not, maybe instead of Disney, you're going to the mountains for a week or something like that, right? But
mm-hmm.
however it pans out, you're not trying to pay it at one time. You're paying for it. You're saving for that year up to it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes much more manageable. I can't survive all that in 4 months if I'm not putting a little bit away along the year.
Yeah.
That's where the credit cards get pulled out. But great point in, a lot of stuff like that is you can't afford not to. Right? Like, my back's been bothering me a little bit, my this, my that. Schedule an appointment.
Chiropractor.
Right, chiropractor, a PT down the road. Like most health insurance plans will cover you about 8 sessions for those like legitimately certified people. But even if you got to pay for a couple to get, an adjustment or to get some answers, you get to carry that info with you the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think we got did you have anything else you wanted to cover on the rest and recover?
We kind of been talking about the whole thing with life, just life in general. You have to rest, not escape, but rest. Take a break, not quit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you take a break, you have to go back to work. When you quit, you're done. You're just throwing your hands up. So that's kind of another differentiating thing. Taking a break versus quitting. And then we've been talking about just in general, but also with working out. I asked the OG JD a few weeks ago, and I was telling him what I was doing, and he basically told me, you need to chill. Like, you need to relax with your working out. And, sometimes you need someone that is not impressed by you or is not in your immediate circle of friends, to tell you stuff like that. Because a lot of times they won't just, because they like you or because they don't want to hurt your feelings or whatever. But I needed to hear that, and it helped me out a lot. Also, with working out, we have to rest.
And it's... For some people, that can be scary.
Yes.
Even some of my trainers, right? So, you'll have, within a coaching team, you usually have a couple people that lost like 100 pounds plus, or they were the fat kid, or they were this or that. And then like when they start to dial back on working out, or when they start to get busy and tired and take a couple days off, they'll start to panic. Somebody that's going hard all the time, they've reached amazing goals and they're just so scared of slipping back. When you talk to them about like, hey, it's okay to take a couple days rest, what's kind of that big picture approach you might take with them to get them to understand it's okay to take some days and some time off now?
So I would ask them to ask their spouse if their spouse thinks that they should take a break or even a coworker, just someone that's close to them, ask them, okay, how are you sleeping? When you're alone, what do you think about? Like, are you thinking good things? Are you thinking bad things? Are you motivated? How's your temper level? How's your fuse? Is it long? Is it short? Behavioral things like that usually can tell you pretty quick, okay, I need a break.
That is really good, because that is definitely indicators for me. I always sleep because my kids, because I don't sleep enough, so I can always fall asleep. When you're alone, what do you think about's a good one? For me, a huge indicator is my fuse.
Yes, me too. Yep.
If I'm not getting my me time to process, to be quiet, have quiet, because I work in a gym, so it's people and music and noise the whole time. And
you got people slamming weights around.
Just always some sensory input, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm somebody that you could not see me for a couple. I could sit in an apartment by myself for a couple of days and be perfectly fine.
Yes. Yep.
And then you start stacking that though, right? So I'm at work, whole bunch of sensory input. I'm at home, whole bunch of sensory input. I'm active with my kids, right? So if they want to get on the floor and play, I'm playing. If they want to go outside, I'm going outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I really look forward to them taking a nap at the same time. So if we get an hour or two, that's my like quiet block for the week. And if I'm not getting those, then everything becomes a little bit harder. If I'm getting those, not much bothers me during the week.
Yeah, I'm a pretty easygoing person, but the only times that I'm usually get mad is if I'm not getting my me time or getting my workouts in. Usually that's the indicator.
Yep. And I like that we're breaking up the resting and recovery concept, because for me it's not sleep. Like, I was in the Army for some years. Like, I do fine on limited sleep. Like, I can operate very well. I like to sleep. I don't want to operate on limited sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, with my temper and my fuse is when I'm not getting the rest mentally.
I see. Yeah.
Like, when I'm not able to mentally process, when I'm not able to just kind of slow down. Like, it's not the physical sleep part of rest and recovery. It's like kind of like the other parts we talked about. That rest and recovery that allows you to, the notes that I put here, the face, deal with, and process things, versus like escapism. It's like, it's not going to help me if I'm exhausted and I just flip on Instagram for an hour.
Yeah, for me, it usually makes me feel worse because somebody's always buffer than me. Somebody can dance better than me.
Somebody's filters are way better than mine.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, cool. I think we've got some great pieces in the rest and recovery part. I know another section you wanted to make sure we got to go over was the movement as medicine. So go ahead and tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay. It's just that a lot of people have a lot of problems, a lot of chronic problems, usually lower back pain. A lot of people have neck pain, and it's usually because they're not mobile enough. And it's the old adage, if you don't use it, then you lose it. It's the same thing with your muscle and with your mobility. Your body is very smart. So if you have to look at your computer all day for work, your body's gonna make it easier for you to do that. It might not necessarily be good for you, but your body wants to help you do that thing more efficiently, even, to its demise. I know that's kind of dramatic, but it's the truth. So to help combat that, a lot of people need to just move around, man. Do some squats, do some lunges, do some Supermans. That can go a long way with your lower back, with your neck. A lot of people have a lot of knee issues, and it's because they don't squat. Yeah, they squat 90 degree, like you're sitting on a chair, but they don't squat like, what is it? Is Arnold Schwarzenegger where he squats all the way, his butt all the way to his calves. So anyways, you need to be mobile, and you need to be pliable, and you need to be flexible so you won't break. When I was still working as a trainer full time, because of my TRX background, everybody always gave me the older clients. They always had back issues or knee issues or ankle issues or whatever. And they thought the best thing was to do was to try and not move that thing, when in actuality, that's the worst thing to do. You know, of course, if you just had surgery or if you just broke your knee, yes, absolutely, you have to rest. But if you are now healed of that, you know, you need to move it. You need to put pressure on it. You need to work it out to make it feel better, to show it, hey, we can, you know, we can do this. We can walk, we can sit down, we can bend our knees without hurting and popping and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Similarly, I do a lot of the older clients. I do a lot of the post-rehab, post-surgery, post-injury recovery stuff. And it is astounding how much chronic pain, right? Chronic pain being something that persists over an extended period of time with seemingly no fix, I'm able to fix in a couple months.
Yeah.
That people have tried like over and over and over and over and over, like all these different things to do. And then they, like you said, they succumb to, this is how I have to live the rest of my life. And it hurts when I move it. So I'm not going to move, and maybe it at least won't get worse.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So a good example, now granted, I've got a bunch of like client examples, like, you know, I got a guy that refused to pick a kettlebell up off the floor because he would need a back injection the next day.
Oh, wow.
And now he's squatting and deadlifting and doing whatever, like a few months later.
Awesome.
But he would, so like, cool. he would actually very easily need, like, I forget the name of it, but like an injection, like a, you know, in his back.
Yeah,
almost anything.
Yeah, I know it too, but I can't think of the name. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So because I understand this, because I've worked with this with people so much, you know, I had one day, and I was like, it was shortly after my son was born, so my first child, and I was exhausted. I shouldn't have been doing it anyway. So like I was deadlifting. And like, I think like a 5 rep range. So like heavy, and last rep, last set, pop, drop to the ground. So I'm like, and it's funny because this is like in a massive health club in like the middle of the day when nobody's around. It
wasn't rush hour. Nobody was there.
No, in like a converted racquetball court down an empty hallway that we turned into like a hit room. So I'm like completely by myself. Possible that I'm just gonna like die here or something, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
And so I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking for a second. There's two things. I've got structural damage and I'm screwed anyway, or you know, I pull something and I've got to keep it moving. And so that's what I did. I kind of laid there and just moved as much as I could, like stand the pain.
Yeah.
Because this is the middle of the day, so I got a bunch of sessions to finish in the evening. And I'm moving it, and I get to where I can get up. Like, I couldn't stand or sit from the pain. And so I get to where I can get up, I get to where I can move around. You know, I'm testing my limits, and, like, it's painful, but I can move everything. I'm like, okay, so, like, you know, I pulled something, strained something, whatever. Had I, you know, gone home and sat on the couch, I'd have been incapacitated for days.
Oh, yeah.
By letting it, in that moment, seize up. Now, like, getting up the next morning, like, you know, from sleeping during the night, it was obviously like super stiff in the morning and I had to work it back out again. But even something like that where like I heard it pop, drop to the floor, was still just a movement fix.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're okay.
Yeah, me too. I've only done that twice. I've been deadlifting for 18 years and I've only done that twice, so that's pretty good.
When I was younger, when I first started, you know, like when I first started with my dad, like I said earlier, I was doing incline dumbbell press. But I was doing the incline once, and it was the last set, last rep, and my shoulder pops.
Ooh, shoulders are terrible.
Yes, it was my right shoulder, and I'm right-handed, and it popped, and I just dropped the weight to the ground, you know. It was rush hour, so I was looking around, who's seen me, you know, so embarrassed, and I was young, you know, so I didn't really know what to do. if I remember correctly, I just stopped and I just waited for my dad to finish and then we went home. But still now, every once in a while, that shoulder will bug me every once in a while. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and some stuff will linger. Like I played football and I separated a collarbone, and that shoulder will bug me every so often. But when I'm doing my warm ups and my movements consistently, it almost never bothers me. Right? But you take and this is where people can kind of understand that things stack. So I get this injury in high school or college, then I'm carrying tons of weight, the years that I'm in the Army, and then every night I sleep on my side, and then because my kid sleeps in my bed, I always sleep on my right side, which is the shoulder I messed up. And so all of those things will constantly stack and make it that much more likely for that shoulder to bother me, which is not that I'm doomed. It's just I have to stay on top of my movements. And it's not more than like 3 or 4 exercises. So like 2 or 3 minutes that I can do every day that will keep it perfectly fine.
Yeah, you got to move it. Yeah, and it's the same with me, that shoulder. Most people, they have their aches and pains like all the time. Me, I get my aches and pains when I don't work out. It's always like that.
Yeah.
My lower back starts to hurt. That shoulder starts to bug me. And it's always when, I've missed a week for some reason, some crazy reason of something with my, my kids or with work or something like that. I won't work out and I can feel, pain. My hips too. I feel it in my hips. It makes me feel old, but
yeah.
Something.
But yeah, absolutely. And if I take that week, like you said, because of work, because I didn't pay attention to my schedule well enough, because I didn't really block out the time, then to get everything feeling right, then takes me an entire 45-minute workout instead of 10 to 15 minutes the whole week.
Here's a more recent example. So you guys know I just moved my mom across the country from New Mexico to where I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we drove. I made it in 2 days. I drove the U-Haul. And after that 2 days, man, I was hurting. Ooh. So I didn't work out. I did more like a mobility thing. I did the Turkish get-ups. I did windmills. I did some active hangs from the bar. And after that, man, I felt like a new man. Like I was walking more straight. My chest was out. I just felt better.
I love that too, because Turkish get-ups are great. I love windmills. You never see anybody do them. I love windmills. And then the hangs, man, like it just, I need to get one of those like inversion tables or something. Like you can just feel just that tension come out. Yeah,
your back, your lower back, especially. They always say it decompresses your lower back. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say.
That's what I feel.
Yeah, no, I feel it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess if you were to give so let's say somebody's, like most people these days are kind of stuck at a desk, right? So what is 3 to 5 minutes of something that you recommend they do, a couple times a day at work if they're kind of starting out brand new? They can start either working away on those aches and pains or work on keeping things from becoming aches and pains. Like what are some of a couple movements that you would recommend first?
So I would say first, if you're going to do it at work, you have to get used to people looking at you because you'll probably look funny. But that's okay. So if you're sitting at a computer, you're probably hunched over. So I would say do some arm swings, where you hug yourself and then you go wide, and you hug yourself and you go wide, and then you can do like your neck, the rolls around of your neck, left, right, and you can even look like straight up in the sky. I mean, it helps if you're outside because you have more something to look at. And then this might not be at work, but you can do Supermans when you go home. That's a really good workout just for your posture overall. I love Supermans, and you can do it, kind of kind of a unilateral exercise. You can go your right arm with your left leg, and then your left arm with your right leg, or you can do, all of your limbs at the same time, or you can just do your hands and then just do your feet and alternate. Yeah, just off the top of my head, those are some stuff that I would recommend.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of where most people are these days, either at a desk at work, at a desk at home. And so having kind of a couple of those, simple things to do makes a big difference. And it kind of just gets you to break staring at a screen. So I recently started training a guy. He's a partner of one of the other guys I train. He's Czech. He's from Prague.
Oh, okay.
And so they moved here. My initial client, used to work for the embassies throughout Europe, and they met.
Oh, that's cool.
Like when he worked in an office, there was like a timer. Like every 2 hours, you had to get up and get away from your desk.
Man, other countries are so cool.
It's kind of messed up to put it. Like we think we're smart and like we are in some ways, but man, we make the really simple stuff hard.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like what is it? Like you're letting them like, hey, every 2 hours, get up, take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
So what's probably going to
go
happen?
Outside, get some fresh air.
Right. What's probably going to happen during that 2 hours, knowing they have a little break coming? They're going to work.
The production's going to go up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you especially work on a computer, when the traps are getting tight, the neck's getting tight. He talked about how calling out being sick and calling out for different things was much lower, there compared to workforce here. Migraines and headaches, and I mean, you get a migraine or a headache or something, like that's gonna mess you up for the day. And
mm-hmm.
I trained a girl years ago, would have like debilitating migraines, literally because of how much stress and anxiety she carried in her shoulders.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, my wife, she carries it in like the base of her neck, so it's the same.
Yep. And then I have another client who goes to kind of a chiropractor, PT, naturopath,
okay.
who talks about like the base of the neck and like that nerve flow, and also talks about there being kind of like a nutrient flow center. So as your body processes the foods, the nutrient flow is in that area. And when that's locked and tightened up, your brain's not even getting the nutrients, let alone the nerve and blood flow being messed up, isn't even getting the nutrients properly that you're supposed to be getting. And so now stress, anxiety, depression, productivity, all that stuff's impacted just because your neck's tight.
It's so crazy. Yeah, it sounds like, I guess, rude to say, but it's my personality. I'm more of like a happy-go-lucky type person, and I'm just like, everything will work out, everything will come out in the wash, everything's gonna be okay. That's just the way that I am. So it's hard for me to relate to people that have a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason that I'm like that is because I prioritize my time with my family and my rest and my reading and all that stuff. So yes, I do think it's a personality, but I also steward it, for my benefit.
Yeah, and you mentioned like if you get out of a routine, or if you're not resting and recovering, your fuse is lower. You might get your personality shifts a little bit.
Yeah, especially it's usually with my kids, usually, sadly.
Well, they're the ones that push you the most, so.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately. Phenomenal information. Is there anything you would like to finish with?
I don't really get to go through like my story with my past diet. So I used to just eat very, very normal, just a typical gym bro, just a lot of meat, a lot of chicken, a lot of, fruits and vegetables, protein, all that kind of stuff, milk. And then I started developing this thing where I would eat and I would feel like I was choking. So I ended up going to the emergency. It was probably 4 or 5 times within a few months there's a hospital that's right down the road from my house, and it's a small hospital. So I would see the same people every time. So they were like, yo, you need to go see a specialist. So I went to go see a specialist. They put me out. They put a camera down my throat. So they basically found that my esophagus is smaller than it's supposed to be. And that's because of the way they explained it. It's like a heartburn, but times like a million. So that was the condition that I had. And they put me on, it's called omeprazole. So it's just kind of like a generic pill that they throw at a lot of things. But one of the things that they do use it to treat is heartburn. So I was at the time, I think I was 28. I think I was 28 or 29, and I said, I'm too young to be taking 2 pills a day for the rest of my life. I'm too young. I'm too healthy. And I asked them, hey, what can I change in my diet? Is there anything that I can do? And they were like, no, it's kind of a hereditary thing. You used to have asthma when you were younger, so that's why. But I didn't like that answer. So I went on an elimination diet. From that, I think that I know what all my triggers are. I know what most of them are. It's mostly dairy and red meat and anything that has kind of a acid like a taste, or so like lemon, lime, sometimes tomato juice, watermelon is one. It's just like a trigger for me. So now I stay away from all those things and I feel awesome. And another plus to that was I would usually come home from work. I would try and play with my kids, and I would usually fall asleep on the floor, like a typical dad would. And I remember my kids and my wife, they would get frustrated with me. Hey, we never see you. You're always sleeping. I, just a typical dude, I'm like, what more do you want, woman? Like, I'm working all day. So after all that, I changed my diet, and now I don't do that anymore. I come home and I'm attentive, and I can like be there. I can be present. That's another small part of my story. And let me write it in the chat real fast what my condition.
And it's crazy to think how many people would take that pill and say, well, this is just the rest of my life.
Yeah, so the way that they explained it, basically heartburn times a million. So that's my understanding, and that's what I learned from all of my Googles. For me, I just had to find out what my triggers were, and I haven't had an episode like that in a few years, and I haven't taken that medicine in longer, probably 3 or 4 years. It's awesome.
Especially with working with so many people dealing with pain and being able to fix the pain and everything. That is one of the things that kind of like just bugs me on has me like feel sad. Like I'm trying to think like a good word for it, but just knowing how many people have pain or discomfort or a misery that they are like, even people just trying to lose weight without anything crazy. They're like, I can't figure it out. This is how I get to spend the rest of my life.
Yeah, and my parents were overweight, and my brother's overweight, blah, blah, blah.
Yep, and that's just how it was genetic. That's the card you were dealt. And obviously we have, one of the greatest human evolutions is emergency medicine. That's what skyrocketed.
Throw it out.
That's what skyrocketed life expectancy. And then we turned emergency medicine into daily medicine, and that's where we screwed up.
Yes, I 100% agree with you.
And so if we start, and that's not to say that we're not saying that you shouldn't take medications. We're not saying that stuff doesn't hurt and might keep hurting because you tore, you got in a car accident and tore and ruptured a bunch of things. But we need to make sure that along the way we're giving the body the opportunity to heal itself, because it's really good at it.
Oh yeah, your body is like the most complicated, most wonderful, most smartest machine ever created. It's insane.
Yep. This was awesome.
Yeah, I loved it.
It was good hangout. It was a good chat. Well, cool, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate the time. We'll look forward to getting you back on again.
Yeah, man, you too. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you were here listening with us, thank you so much for dropping in, for commenting, for sharing, for being interactive. If you're listening to the recording, please jump into the Discord, at me, at Bodyweight. We're here to help, right? Ask whatever questions you have, or just say hi and jump into the workout log and post some of the stuff you've been working on. We're going to just keep growing all together. Step out of your zone a little bit and just do whatever you can to connect and have a good time. Anything you want to end with, Bane?
I'm so excited for this weekend. Everything coming out.
It's app time. If you're listening to this in the future, you're not going to understand how big like the next couple of days of this are, right? Buckle's been like, I'm newer on the team and I kind of just, hang out and chat, but Buckle and the guys have been killing it trying to get this app. So if you're listening to this in the future, you're grasping a piece of the past in how big it is.
I'm probably one of the very freshly new, still wet behind the ears people here.
Yeah, and it's massive that like Apple, Apple finally cooperated and got tired of Buckle bugging them. And we've got the app ready to launch.
It's like the persistent widow, the parable of the persistent widow.
Yep. Keep knocking. Keep coming.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you all.
Hey, man, you got it.
All right. Peace.
Later.